I believe that if you connect at a social emotional learning framework through the executive function or metacognition, and then move that to transferable skill, you're talking about the years. These are the years where, executive function is most dynamic in the pre-K. The digital transferable skill is more dynamic in the pre-teen. And then where it's most dynamic is the parent, or the mother, who now is regeneration. She is regenerating. She's having a baby, and now she's connected. And so she needs that technology not only for her work and her job, but she needs to be able to access to all her collaborative network. And this allows us to really apply the digital transformation through digital literacy and digital competency with transferable skill. Like I say, I'm going to blur and say they're all the same. According to World Economic Forum and other research, to us it's all the same. And actually, the digital skill is an enabler for all the other transferable skill. So, thank you very much, Professor Vin, and thank you to all the speakers that went ahead of today's presentation. It was very nice to be able to look at the wide range of digital literacy and competency and the transferable skills. So it allowed me to be able to share something that might be a little bit more forward-thinking, in the sense that I have been with the digital medium and been educating since the early days of digital media in Silicon Valley. And this is prior to me joining the original JavaSoft team, which is the people that wrote the language for the internet. So I've seen a wide range of transferable skills and digital skills. So what I wanted to show you today is a different aspect of looking, by starting out by looking at dynamic of transferable skill. And this gives you a nice cross-section cutting across from, the general view, which is life skills and living skills, and developing that through living arts, to moving into transferable skills, which can be, which has been coined many things, 21st century skills, soft skill, lifelong learning skills, and even some development at the Center for Developing Child at Harvard University, which calls it executive function, the executive function and self-regulation skill that are based on the 3 brain function. And developing these working memory, this mental flexibility and self-control to operate from a metacognition to be able to operate in coordination with one another, to where we've been at for the last 3 or 4 years now, which is social emotional learning skills and regeneration. And at the core of that is a matrix that deals with the human intelligence, creativity, and well-being. So then we migrate this into transferability of digital skills. Now let's focus on the, one of the top transferable skill, which is leadership skill. Now, if you look at evolutionary design system thinking, okay, this is a very important understanding, because everything we need to look at now is based on design thinking. Is that most of leadership today are all integrated with the digital skill. The transferability of digital skill is in the fabric of all leadership, and there's no escape. And then if you talk to a technology expert, they would encourage advisors and leadership advocate and management counselor and education and curriculum developer to integrate transferability of digital skill into social emotional learning to optimize transferable and digital skills. And Dr. Hee-Jo Lang, who is the chairman of Singapore Polytechnic, says it best. It's in Asia here, we need to go beyond what is being taught with technology, and we need to move into a creative confidence. And I agree with some of the report earlier that education, you guys need to catch up. You need to catch up, and you need to maybe even look at other realm of transformation. It's no longer to us who are in the forefront of of regeneration, where transferable and digital skill is developed for optimum regeneration, to be able to duplicate itself, okay, by students that want to learn by themselves. Like, self-learning from the presentation earlier in Bangkok talks about, the majority of the students prefer to learn by themselves when it comes to digital skills. So we need to look at a framework that inspire and influence transformation. And here, from the World Economic Forum, we speak about, the new vision for education, integrating the digital skill at the early childhood education with social emotional learning. And it is more dynamic with digital technology. And if you can look at, some of the emerging area of research within HCI studies, is that this is the growing industry. This is the growing market that we need to do so. And especially here in Asia, because the reason why Asia hasn't been so prominent in the digital frontier as a lot of cultures, because we are rich and in complex cultural dynamism. So the reason why social emotional learning is the backbone is that it is connected to our cultural dynamism, the way we look at things, the way we see things. So until we can integrate cultural dynamism, so that way here they talk about comprehension between the extract between implicit and explicit ideas is totally different here in Asia. And it is necessary that media format not simply coexist, but supplement one another. This is the interdependency that unless you integrate it into our cultural dynamism, we still don't get it, because our home skill is different. I share everything at home to my family, but when it comes outside to the world, I share nothing. And this is how Asia works. We're great at sharing within our family, but outside them, so our ability of interdependency is different. And also social factors. Sharing is no longer just a method for personal identity or distribution. One can create organic ecosystem of sourcing, sharing, storing, and ultimately repackaging the content to something else, depending on what you're sharing. And the highlight of the end point to this principle of digital literacy is kind of literacy, as well as the ability to understand the value of information and to keep it in a way to make it accessible and useful. Okay, the ability to curate by providing the potential for social curation, working together to find, collect, and organize great information. This is key, the curation, because why? Once you move into the core of digital literacy, you realize that curation is the one that is advocating the utilization of learner and the creation of driven pedagogy that embrace curation as a core and media literacy competency. The only way that digital literacy or digital competency or digital transformation works is that it expands. Okay, it's a form of expansion, and the way that this works is, you start out with the reflective observation, and from that reflective observation you move into the abstract conceptualization. I'm talking from the outer circle in. Okay, and then from that conceptualization, you move into the active experimentation. And from that active experimentation, you have concrete understanding. Okay, this is the basic, of any kind of experiential learning, self-taught, self-directed learning, or based on digital transformation. But if you have a self-framework that is scalable and expand, then through creative autonomy, the child will develop his or her own digital transformation. And from that digital transformation, will expand again to a more universality and connection. And And it doesn't end there. This is a spiral. This is a spiral and expansion of, this is why we coin, we put under resonance and harmonizing. Because at the core of this, you're inspiring curiosity, which inculcate commitment, and this creates, a sympathy. And from inculcating commitment to a celebration interplay. Especially the term celebration. Nowadays, there's not a party without digital technology. There's not a celebration without digital technology. So the pinnacle of digital technology lives in this celebration interplay, giving deeper meaning. And from that interplay to inspiring that curiosity again is an orchestra. It is orchestrating how to harmonize learning. And so this ability of expansion and evolving or evolutionary design thinking and system is important to digital skill and transferable skill. So now let's stay on the dynamic path, right? Like why is a digital geek for 20 plus year is focused on early childhood development? Why don't you go for the dynamics of where, such as in primary school? Well, I believe in the opposite. I believe that if you connect at a social emotional learning framework through the executive function or metacognition, and then move that to transferable skill, you're talking about the years. These are the years where, executive function is most dynamic in the pre-K. The digital transferable skill is more dynamic in the pre-teen. And then where it's most dynamic is the parent, or the mother who now is regeneration. She is regenerating. She's having a baby and now she's connected. And so she needs that technology not only for her work and her job, but she needs to be able to access to all her collaborative network. And this allows us to really apply the digital transformation through digital literacy and digital competency with transferable skill. Like I say, I'm going to blur and say they're all the same. According to World Economic Forum and another research, to us it's all the same. And actually, the digital skill is an enabler for all the other transferable skill. So what do you get? Well, you get this radical universality. This family is now connected to, school, to work, and these layers of digital transformation through social emotional learning, to executive function, to transferable and digital transformation, and lifelong learning skills, it's all dynamic. Okay? So this universality in this group is very important. So why? Because here the corporate has priority. If you look at it, the corporation takes the child, the institution, take the parents away from their home because, the parents now need to work and make money for the children, and they want to develop skills. So here, if you have a social emotional framework within a regenerative format, then the parents need self-harmonizing with the work, including, developing leadership skills and managing stress in the workplace, and more so than ever. This presentation, this slide came actually when I presented at Senior CISA, which is an organization focused on early childhood care and parenting. At that point, we were only focusing on the parents and the teacher. More so now, we realize that the parents is playing a lot of role, or we need the assistance of the parents to be able to work with the child, because they're no longer going to school, or they're not at school as much, or they're learning online, so we need that home assistant. Then teacher needs help to connect with the children's learning and to support parents. Plus, through this format of sharing with the parents, it also increased the teacher's performance in teaching, because they're getting real-life professional skill exchange, to support the teacher. And companies need high-performance workers to co-create harmony in the family, the community, and the workplace for optimum balance. Okay, so it is a corporate priority. And it should also be a corporate social responsibility. And then, like we heard earlier, over 100 million kids in the pandemic will need cell to manage stress and to learn more effectively. So the bottleneck to this ecosystem is at the social emotional learning. I'm going to just give you a brief introduction to the cell framework. Well, the cell framework is based on the three pillars of creativity, human intelligence, and well-being. And within that, the intelligence, you're making connection, creativity, you're creating dynamics, because creativity is the highest human dynamic, and well-being, which is based on our condition, and that means many things. But if you look at the core of action research block, you're dealing with time, space, and energy. That's what we're doing. The framework will help you to access into this time, space, and energy to establish conditions and connection which are related to transferable and literary skill, as well as dynamics. Dynamics, which is more regenerative and sustainable. And of course, with some of the global problem we have now, we need to really focus on that. And if you look at the building blocks of the cell framework, you can move around in this building block based on your own personal experience, or based on the solution or the outcome that you need to have. Okay? And so each block is like a building block to your social emotional connection, which allow you to be able to transform and be able to embrace digital skills and transferable skill more effectively. So, of course, if we could integrate this into, using it as a scientific and everyday workplace or work life for optimum outcome, well then we're looking at real dynamics, real evidence-based outcomes. Okay, not just only output, but outcome, because you can see it happen every day based on a framework of social emotional connection that promotes digital and transferable skills. And so therefore, it will move us into a different ecosystem level of policy making. Okay, so this will be the building blocks to public and private sector partnership. This will be the building block to multilateral development via ecosystem design thinking. And it will also, promote quality research and evidence-based development from dynamic action research of everyday work and study life. And the real challenge is one is slow regeneration of non-ecosystem design thinking. These are not when you have intersectorial, multilateral collaboration. That's how an ecosystem works. They all work together. And the reason why we don't have that is we don't have this transferable skills or this digital skill that are connecting us at the social emotional learning. And then move that into the management leadership vacuum, of old and antiquated model. Like I I agree with Singapore research. Everything that can be done by AI, especially, all these modules that are taught by digital competency or digital literacy, can be taught by AI. And IBM have done research to showcase this. And if it's not done by AI, it most likely will be done by, better instructional design. And how do we apply our cultural dynamism, not just only to follow, but to create a digital transformation so we can lead? The infographic that I want to share with you here is our methodology, and it's based on the inverted pyramid methodology. And so the inverted pyramid model will maximize communication between members and organizations to create flexible and more responsive collaboration. This inverted model will also increase the spread of ideas and improvement throughout our collaboration network. The most dynamic thing about this is it moves us away from the top-down needing to cooperate to a bottom-up inspiration model that harness full capacity of our stakeholder and enable the younger generation who are most fitted for this type of regenerative development and holistic thinking to take leadership, to be able to really contribute to the path and moving forward. And the most dynamic approach for regeneration in vocational and lifelong learning education. And some of our case study is done here at EECE, but it's also done at the tourism level, higher education, and farming. And most important of all, is perfect for social entrepreneurship. So Then we go into the commitment. And these, like I said, some of the most important things I see here is one is the commitment of social learning. And to inculcate the ability to always connect together and share information and have open communication and collaborate at the social responsibility where real energy comes from the collective power to build resilience, bounce back, and success. But most important of all is the energetics of learning needs to move from the mental, logical, and literal into more of a physical action outcome. And so this is the core of our digital framework, which I do not have time to share with you, but it's an infographic that allows you to connect through a transcendental ethnography, which is a transdisciplinary practice that engages multimedia study and exploration of one's own cultural milieu through experiential field work. And this allowed us to be able to apply this digital transdisciplinary approach through action research, transfer that digital transcendental ethnography of digital media through creative arts, and also motivation and disciplinary art, which is very important for the cultural dynamism of Southeast Asia to develop this commitment. And then a double polarized check and balance to be able to use the framework to check within your own social emotion, but to use that framework and those information to connect into the group underpinning value and accountability. You know, we live in a very polarized world. So what I think and what I do might be the complete opposite thing. And then within the group dynamics, and the higher the intelligence of the group dynamic, this becomes, you know, we're all chasing at the highest value, but we're not really sharing and connecting at a personal view or at the compliance value. And so the ability to help us develop management and leadership at the paradoxical level of understanding and empower effective cultural dynamics is important. Here, the development based on outcome of regenerative leaders and not only data is our most critical discussion. Regenerative leader within diverse, healthy community environment are cross-referenced with trauma-informed growth for optimal outcome in transformation. And this is very dynamic when you're saying trauma, where the trauma comes into the parents, the teacher. Well, we have a lot of cultural, we have a lot of old dynamics, and we have a lot of societal dynamics that, you know, if we triangulate approach help to overcome the inherent weaknesses and biases of one method, you know, this will develop a clarity and contrast where now we can visualize how trauma-informed dynamics can be more effective for the development of a healthy community based on regenerative leadership understanding. Okay? And I want to conclude my slide with the service learning responsive model inside this regenerative leadership. Is that we are approaching a responsive model for optimum regeneration, encouraging interaction with people of diverse culture and lifestyle, such as in tourism service learning. Okay? This is a very unique, creating opportunity and meaningful connection with local community, indigenous and native intelligence as an environmental and civic responsibility of early childhood parenting development. Okay, the hands-on and knowledge that increases relevance of academic skill, that accommodation of different learning style via one's curation, digital transformation. And the valuable and competency, career guidance, and experience of the transferable and digital literacy skill is now at its finest for regenerative development. And so with that, I want to say thank you. I want to give you 3 takeaways. Give me 30 seconds. The basic takeaway are, it's to connect, inspire, and co-create. But when you connect, I'm not talking about with yourself and the diversity in the people. Connect with your experiences. Okay? And when I talk about inspire, we're not just talking about mind, heart, and action and cultural dynamism, but connect to the relatedness of things, a relatedness of your day. And then, of course, to co-create, of course, collaborative network, ecosystem, collaboration and design thinking. But we need to go back to just co-creating with being. And I think if you, experiences, relatedness, and being, if you work at that, and we can inspire that through cultural dynamism, they will naturally have digital and transferable transformation for the years to come that could lead us into the 21st century. Thank you very much.
thank you, Professor Hai, for very inspirational presentation with a lot of information and framework and models that we can learn from. Thank you for the takeaway as well. I mean, connect, inspire, and co-create. I remember African proverb. It takes a village to raise a child. I mean, cannot agree with you more than we need to build an ecosystem, and the involvement is not the role of the teacher to prepare for the future of the kids. It is the parent. The first teacher is very important, and the early education should be the key. I mean, for the development of the child in the future. Thank you for the presentation.